number of people who have signed in. So are we ready to start? Do we have all the council here?
Yes.
Yes? Everyone's here?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll call this special meeting of the City Council of the City of Litchfield Park to order. The agenda for this item, for this meeting, included a call to order, which we've just done, and it provided everyone with instructions on how to sign in and be part of the meeting. We have a number of participants who are with us, and so I want to welcome them and thank you for spending a portion of your Saturday morning with us. Our agenda called for a Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the meeting, which is normal for all of our meetings. Our presentation on YouTube did not have the pledge, so we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, with that, we're going to go to agenda item 10, since the other agenda items have been covered in the YouTube presentation, and take public questions. And in the process of taking public questions, we have provided for two different methods to do that. One method was for people to send in their questions, and we have several questions that have been sent in, and we're going to begin with those. When we get finished with those questions, we can also take questions from any of the attendees who would like to ask a question. If you want to ask a question, then you have to raise your hand. If you're on your computer, you will raise your hand by clicking on the blue hand button that should be on your screen. If you happen to be in this meeting by telephone, then you'll need to push star and 9, and that should raise your hand. We will see here on our screen, we'll see that someone has raised their hand. And once we get to the part of the meeting in which we'll have public questions, we will call on each person who has a raised hand individually. Their mic will be unmuted. We'll listen to your question or comment, and then after that, we'll have an opportunity from the council to respond to your question or your comment as appropriate. Everything that we cover today has to be within the confines of the open meeting law. So it means that if we're going to discuss an item, it needs to be something that is set forth on our agenda. So we will be looking at the questions and making sure that we have each item properly agendized. If something is not properly agendized and we can't respond to it, then we will send a written response to the person who posed the question or the comment that needed a response. Hopefully, our agenda is broad enough that it will be able to cover all of the items that someone may want to ask about. Any questions from council on the procedure we're going to use? Okay, I don't see any. So we'll start with the questions that have been sent in. These questions are not in any particular order other than, well, actually they are. The first questions I have are in an alphabetical order from the last person of the last name of the person who asked the question. That's what it appears. So the first question is from Craig Acuff. He lives on Village Parkway, and he's asking about the status of the traffic circle at Village Parkway and Litchfield Road. When will work begin on the traffic circle? That information was generally included in the State of the City presentation, so I would direct you back to that presentation first, because you can see the design of the traffic circle, and there was conversation about the beginning of constructing of phase 1 of the roadway system, the infrastructure system, which included the traffic circle as well as a portion of the Village Parkway extension and some work on the park. That is construction that our city has completed the plans on. So we're at 90 or 95% complete on the engineering drawings. That will be going to a process of bidding that is done by our construction manager at risk. So we should have pricing on that in the next month or so. If we can finalize our financial plan for how we accomplish this development using the cost that we have today, in a way that's financially sustainable, then you'll see construction begin on this once it's approved by council, which we anticipate would be late summer of 21. So it's something that we hope to see moving forward, assuming that we can come up with a plan that meets the approval of our council. Is there any further comment from anyone on the council on this question? Okay, I don't see any. So we'll go to the second question. That question is from Sean McKenna, and he lives on Vista Paseo. Sean asks if there are plans for slowing down traffic on Old Litchfield Road north of the Wigwam. Speed bumps, such as installed on Bird Lane, have slowed down that traffic. We still see high speeds on Litchfield Road, Old Litchfield Road. That is a topic that council will be considering as we go forward into 2021. It will start with making sure that we understand if there is and we can not understand but document a speeding issue on Old Litchfield Road. And then staff will spend time going out to the various residents who live on Old Litchfield Road and who are impacted by travel on Old Litchfield Road to judge the amount of support from those residents for taking traffic calming steps such as speed humps on Old Litchfield Road. It's the same process we use on Bird Lane. We want to make sure that our residents support the idea of taking the kind of steps that we would be taking. Once we judge the temperature of the residents, then our engineer will look at a design for speed humps or other traffic calming on Litchfield Road, and then that will come to council. So I expect that is a topic that we will see at council towards the end of maybe the end of summer or the beginning of fall. It will take some period of time to get all the information we need to bring that question to council, and then we'll judge the support for taking that type of step by the council. Any further input from any council member? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. The speed bumps on Bird Lane were kind of an experiment, and they've been put in, they've been modified, and we're trying to figure out just how that works, get the feedback from the citizens, and see if it is something they want us to proceed with in other areas. Old Litchfield Road is a problem also. Bird Lane was probably our worst problem. And we may have a few other areas also to look at with those speed bumps. But this is an experiment, and we need the feedback on it.
Any other council comments? Seeing none, we'll go on to the next question. This is a question that's actually several questions from Mary Hadclick, who's on Bahia Lane. Her first question is whether we have done any marketing studies for the retail in the city center area. And the answer is yes, we have done several marketing studies. Our first study was actually done by Richard Hill and Company back in about 2014. He concluded that we had a demand generally in this area within I think it was a 5-mile radius or an 8-mile radius from city center, that we had a demand for as much as, I think it was 200,000 or 250,000 square feet of retail space. That study by Rick Hill was actually informally updated in probably 2018, in which he took a look at the assumptions that he had made from 2014, and he felt those assumptions were still accurate, and that that there was a market for retail traffic or retail space in this area. Also, Destination LP, when they were doing the work on planning, they did some informal marketing studies to see what type of interest there would be from retail tenants to lease space in this area, and how many they made some judgments on how many square feet of retail space they thought the city center would be able to attract. Destination LP's judgment was slightly less, actually probably significantly less than what the judgment was of Raquel. But in all cases, there has been support by these marketing studies that there is a need for retail space in our geographic area. And the question, I think, becomes whether we have actually two questions, I think, as we go forward. One is, can we develop a space that is attractive and generally competitive, that will attract retail companies who operate retail stores from wanting to be in Litchfield Park. And we present this as a good place to do business for them, a place that they can open up and make money. And then the second question that I think everyone is waiting to see what happens is, what impact has COVID-19 had on retail sales in general? What type of retail companies will be going forward and be successful? How will they operate their shops? There's actually some conversation, I think, that smaller shops with more reliance on internet sales may be a better model than larger shops. If that's true, then a space in the city center, a small space in the city center, might be very attractive to someone who had a presence on the internet in a way that would allow them to have both business models feed off of each other. So I'm hopeful that we will actually have significant demand for retail space in the downtown area. Any comments from council? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. We do have these studies and they've been done, these marketing studies, but I think more important to me is the real life experience of what's been going on. The Fry Shopping Center was, after they started construction, was built and developed, and all the pads sold and every space in there leased almost immediately, which showed a massive amount of growth. The property at Dysart and Camelback on the southeast corner, once we approved the zoning, the roadway construction designs and plans and stuff, that property is showing significant growth. And with our city center not being on such a main corner, I think the real life experience of what's happened downtown, led by former council member Peter Mahoney, has shown us that there is a demand in that area. I mean, our downtown is kind of off the beaten path, and the city center will be more on the beaten path. So I've got really, really high hopes that there's an unmet demand out here, just from a practical standpoint and just watching what's happening, regardless of what the plan's saying. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Councilman Brainerd Watson.
I just wanted to add that I think that it's going to be really interesting, as you kind of mentioned, Mayor, to take a look at, see what the marketing models look at as we exit COVID, because I think we're really going to see a very different marketing model in terms of how retail business is done. And I think that's going to be that we may find ourselves in a really good position with Amazon being so close, with some of the major carriers having just located to our west, that we may find ourselves in a really good position for, as you said, small businesses opening in small little niche shops in small spaces. So I think we just need to keep our ears open and eyes open and pay attention to what's going on around us, and really be open to different possibilities.
And I might add to that, an indication, kind of similar to what the Vice Mayor was saying, an indication of of whether there's going to be a demand for retail space. We've had two different groups come in with with significant interest to build actually in this development. One of the groups is proceeding now at a pretty good pace to bring back to council a proposal. And we have another group that we're going to meet with actually next week, or another individual next week, that is interested again in developing space that would have retail space in it. So the people who are interested in investing in the downtown area I think have determined that there's going to be a need for their space, or they wouldn't be coming to us with these plans, because even to come to us with ideas and plans is an expensive proposition. By the time you develop renderings and you do site planning and you do some of the things that are necessary before we would even go forward with asking for proposals on property. So there is interest, and I think it's that the interest is supported by demand that's in the marketplace. Next question was, what type of retail do you envision? I think the simple answer to that is we envision the type of retail that the market is going to support and make sustainable. That's the key. Is the first thing is that the businesses that come in have got to offer something that the market wants, and that people will support with by being their customers. We're hoping that we'll get a variety of interesting businesses that will support both our community and the neighborhoods that are around our community, and the Wigwam. So you could see things like different types of furniture stores, maybe indoor, outdoor type furniture stores. You could see household goods, cooking. I'm hoping there'll be a bookstore, particularly a children's bookstore. So I think a variety of retail will be possible based upon what our residents are willing to support and patronize. Any other comments from council? Anything specifically you're hoping to see come into the park, into the city center? Okay, we'll go to the next question. Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm sorry I missed you.
No problem. I was a little late in raising my hand, Mayor. One of the things that is important to me that the citizens have asked is to protect the small town atmosphere. And I see that as meaning probably small shops of some sort. Maybe they're ice cream parlors, places with outdoor dining, places around the park. There seems to be, from my personal and professional experience, still a huge demand for small space type of services and retail. Sit down restaurants with a lot of outdoor dining would be something I'd love to see down there. Thank you.
All right, any other comments from council? Councilor Romack. Unmute yourself, Councilman.
Someone call Gay.
There we go.
Hey, just a small or short learning curve. Anyway, one of the things about retailing, and I think we all are aware of this, is that the climate for retailing is, over the past few years, has changed dramatically. So I was talking to someone over in California, and they were saying retailing is not being you don't go into a shoe store and there's going to be hundreds of boxes of shoes in the back. It's going to be more like you might have 10 options that are out in front, and they'll mail you a pair of shoes, and you get it in a couple of days. It's not going to be this large warehouse type inventory. So I think that how that's going to affect us, I'm not sure, but I do think that this Amazon has had a real effect on all of us in the way we deal with retailing in general. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, we'll go to the next question, and that is, where will people park to frequent this retail? The downtown city center has been laid out with what has been termed a distributed parking model, which attempts to distribute the parking throughout our street system in a variety of ways so that we minimize the need to have acres and acres of parking lots. The development as it's laid out today has provision for about 740 parking places that are spread through the development. If it turns out that we need more parking spaces than that, then we have made provision to be flexible enough to have space for a parking structure or a parking garage to add to those spaces. So we believe that we've made provision by distributing the parking throughout the city center area, we've made provision for the parking that we're going to need to support the development. Any other comments from council? All right, I don't see any, so we'll go to the next question. The question is, do you really expect people outside the park to shop in Litchfield Park? I would point you to the number of people who are in our downtown area on a daily basis, and I think you'll find that most of those people that are in the downtown using the businesses that are downtown are not from Litchfield Park. I also point you to Fry Shopping Center. I'm sure that if that parking lot was full of everyone only from Litchfield Park, that there would be no one left inside Litchfield Park. We would all be there. So again, I think that it's very clear that we have people coming in from a great variety of places to use the shopping areas that are currently available in Litchfield. And I think that you'll see that expand if we're successful in developing a space that people want to be in. If people want to come and use the park, if people want to visit the various retail outlets that we have, that we will attract even more people than what we're seeing in our downtown area today. So yes, I think they will come. Comments from council. Councilman Brainerd Watson.
And I'd just like to tag on to that. How many times do each of us drive to the other side of town and go to shop at I don't know, Kierland Commons or something like that, just for the experience, because it's a beautiful place to go. The stores are nice, and you know, you can have a nice lunch in a beautiful environment. That's the kind of place we're trying to create for our community. The kind of experience where people are going to say, well, let's go spend the day out there. There's some great shops, and it's a lot of fun to go and have lunch out on the green area and enjoy the out of doors. And so I would agree with you, Mayor. There are going to be people coming from all over the place who want to shop. And you know, if you live with the idea that only people in Litchfield shop here, where do we shop now? None of us shop in Litchfield because there's virtually grocery shopping, and that's basically it. So we'll pull people from all over the place, just like we shop all over the place right now.
Thank you. Councilman Rostosi.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a thought. I think ultimately, if we wind up having something in the city center that's attractive and the residents of Litchfield Park really like and enjoy, then it's going to wind up being attractive to people who don't live here. And the best way to make sure that people who don't live here don't come is to build something that's not very attractive, which I don't think we want to do. So,
good point. Councilman Donahue.
And also to remind everybody about the Historical Society and the museum, because that, in my opinion, will be a destination. So people will come there, and then we hope they certainly trickle over into town to eat and shop. So we have outside the walls a destination to bring them inside as well. Just a shout out.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. One other issue is we've designed the park to be a destination, and that's trying to be designed to be a place that people actually want to come to, with maybe small shops around it. Maybe you bring the kids to hang around there in the afternoon. You got an ice cream store, you got some restaurants, you got some things to do. So the park will be a big help and a big draw also.
Good point, Mr. Vice Mayor. Councilman Brainerd Watson.
And I also wanted to tag on, you know, our friends over at the Wigwam, when they have conventions come in, frequently the wives will get loaded up into buses and shipped over to the stadium shops, and they'll go over to Scottsdale, and they'll go to all of these other places to, you know, experience the shopping experiences in the restaurants. You know, we can offer that here, and they can literally walk right across the street and experience it. So, you know, this could be a real boon for our community, and will be, especially if we take the time to engineer it and create something that's beautiful and lasting and reflects who we are as Litchfield Park.
Okay. Any other comments from council? All right. Next question is concerning traffic circle, the traffic circle at Litchfield Road and Village Parkway. What traffic engineering studies have been done that support a traffic circle? Excuse me. We have on city staff a city engineer, and we have an engineering group called EPS that does a variety of engineering work for us on a regular, ongoing basis. I think those engineers have looked at the traffic levels that are currently on Litchfield Road and have looked at the issue of traffic coming out of Village Parkway, and the conclusion is that it's pretty obvious that if we extend Village Parkway across and into the city center, so that now we've got not 3 roads coming together, but 4, even with the current level of traffic on Litchfield Road, that we need some sort of traffic control device at Village Parkway to make it safe for people to come out of Village Parkway and merge into traffic on Litchfield Road. We also have a traffic circle we have a traffic light at Wigwam Boulevard and Litchfield Road, which is a very short distance and, hundreds of yards to the south of Village Parkway. And so putting another traffic light at Village Parkway and Litchfield Road is not a very attractive solution to trying to figure out how to calm the traffic in that area. The traffic would barely get started up from the traffic light at Wigwam and Litchfield, and then it would have to stop again potentially at Village Parkway and Litchfield. So another way to deal with this is a traffic circle, and it's something that the council has generally been interested in exploring. This traffic circle was designed by a group called RT Engineering. This group has designed numerous traffic circles and roundabouts throughout the state. They do a lot of work on traffic circles with ADOT and other jurisdictions in Arizona. And they are an expert at designing a traffic circle that is functional and safe, and that will provide an asset and an amenity really at the end of the day, so that we can mark the entranceway into the city center with some appropriate architectural features and landscaping that will make it dramatic to come in and come into the city center. So there have been a significant amount of engineering work done on this issue, and we believe it's going to provide a very good solution to the problem that we have at Village Parkway and Litchfield to make sure the traffic moves through that intersection in a way that is safe for all of our residents and safe for anybody that are using the road from outside of our community. Any comment from council? Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. The traffic circle at Village Parkway and Litchfield Road not only would be a monument to kind of advertise and set off the city center, but similar to the speed bumps on Bird Lane, it's also going to be an experiment. We have talked about, but no decisions have been made about traffic circles maybe at Bird Lane, and because that intersection is somewhat dangerous, and maybe at the Greens entrance on Litchfield Road. We had a traffic study that was done a few years back, and amazingly, the traffic study, I think it was done by the county for us, came back and showed a significant number of vehicles exceeding speeds in excess of 90 and 100 miles an hour on Litchfield Road. These calming devices, these circles, would help with that situation. And traffic circles are not new in Litchfield Park. We have a bunch of them over on Village Parkway. And that is a long road that you could pick up some speed, pretty good speed on if there weren't traffic circles there. And they work very well on Litchfield, on Village Parkway. So again, this first one, like the speed bumps on Bird Lane, is going to be an experiment. We'll see how it works. Thank you.
Any other comments from council? Okay, we'll go on to the next question. Traffic backs up at Litchfield Road and Camelback. It seems a traffic circle may slow traffic down, but it will not alleviate the congestion at this corner. That's a correct statement. The traffic circles, we hope, will in fact slow down the traffic on Litchfield Road, and we think that will lead to better safety for our residents at a number of intersections, but it won't change the overall demand at these intersections, such as Camelback and Litchfield Road. We believe that there's actually a follow-on question about what do we intend to do about the congestion at Litchfield and Camelback. We've taken a look at the congestion at least going northbound, which is where we think the most serious problem seems to be. And that congestion backs up at times. At certain times of the day, it will back up to where the right-hand lane may go as far back in terms of traffic in that lane may go as far back, stopped as far back as even Bird Lane. We believe that is related to the fact that there's no right-hand turn lane at that intersection if you're proceeding north on Litchfield Road. And so the cars that would normally cycle through that intersection while the traffic light might be red are not able to do that, and so they back up in the right-hand lane, and that slows down everyone going through that intersection. So we have looked at, and our engineer has looked at whether it's possible to put in a right-hand turn lane. It looks, from what I understand, it is possible. Putting one in will have some impact on our pathway in that area, and it may impact the landscaping that's on that corner. So that is something that will be coming to council as a potential project, and we'll see if the council decides to put that within our capital improvement plan and what its priority may be. But that right-hand turn lane would be the only thing that I'm aware of that we're working on to try to alleviate the congestion at Camelback and Litchfield Road. Any comments from the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to our next question. This individual also wanted to know about speed bumps. I think we've already talked about that. Next question was the city budget and the impact of the pandemic on our city budget. Again, this was addressed pretty extensively in the State of the City presentation. And so that presentation, if you did not see it, is available on the website, and I would urge you to go take a look at the slides that relate to the city budget. What you'll see is that we've been very fortunate in our revenues have held up during the pandemic. We are actually exceeding what we budgeted for revenue during this period of time. And so the city has come through the pandemic thus far in very good shape. We have taken steps to control our expenses, and we've been careful to take steps to try to help our businesses be successful. And the combination of those two things, our revenues are fine and our expenses are in line, so our financial condition is in good shape. I have a note here that sales tax excluding construction sales tax is 21% higher in December of 2020 as compared to December of 2019. And if you put in construction sales tax into those numbers, 2020 is still 14% higher than 2019. So we have been very fortunate so far from a financial standpoint during this period. Any comments from council? Okay, I don't see any, so we'll go on to our next thing. Has any consideration been given to building a dog park in the city? There are plenty of good spaces where it would fit. That actually has been discussed, and I think it's a topic that has been considered by our Recreation and Public Grounds Commission. That commission is where those kinds of discussions would start, and that commission would, if that commission desired to recommend adding a dog park to one of our current parks, then that commission would bring that to the council, and the council would make a decision on whether we wanted to go forward with that. So if you're interested in pursuing that issue, I would strongly urge you to attend one of the RPG Commission meetings and make your case to the commission, and we'll see if the commission wants to take up that task. Any other comments from council? Okay, not seeing any. We'll go on to the next question. this last question and this part of these questions is from Phil Zell. Phil asks if we are going, well, he asks when our sound wall is going to be replaced along Dysart Road. The project of replacing all the sound walls around the old part of the park was begun about 16 years ago, if I'm recalling correctly. And the council has been working diligently on replacing those walls as we could afford the cost since that time. Our next wall replacement is from the area that's approximately on Litchfield Road, where just north of Village Parkway, where the cart path underpass is, about where just about where the red course starts. In that area, from that area north to Bird Lane, that wall has been approved by council, and we're in the process of bidding it. At this point, the bid that we originally got was way too high compared to our engineering assessment. So we are working with actually a construction manager at risk bid through Aiken Gardner to see if we can get the cost of that to be something closer to what we have in our budget. Once we have that portion of the wall replaced, then the project will continue working on the wall that's at, the eastern end of Camelback and Dysart, near the, adjacent to the Camelback Park, and then south along Dysart. That will be the last section that we'll work on. I don't know when the priority will be such, when the funding in the city will be such that we will actually be able to start constructing that wall. A lot of it will depend upon how successful we are with the commercial development in the downtown area. The quicker that happens, the more funding that will be available for some of these projects like that sound wall. But the sound wall replacement is still a priority for the council. It is in the CIP generally, and is a project that we will work on as our budget permits. Any other comments from council? Okay. That completes those questions. Okay, I have a question from Bob Densford, who asks about the right-hand turn lane at Camelback and Litchfield, and speed bumps on Village Parkway between Rose Park and Arbor Lane. Those questions have generally been dealt with earlier, and I would refer you to those answers. In terms of speed bumps on Village Parkway, that is an issue that has not, as I'm not aware of the citizens bringing that issue to staff, and if they bring it to staff, then we will look at that as one of the projects for traffic calming and see if it meets the criteria to do something. Next question that I have submitted by email is from former Councilman Stuckey. He asks, let's see when. He asks, once the city center construction activity begins, he's concerned that there could be an influx of traffic coming from the north that will be tempted to use Old Litchfield Road. What are we going to do to deal with that traffic using a residential street? The first thing I'm sure we'll do is require anyone building anything in the downtown area not to do that. One of the reasons for constructing the extension on Village Parkway is to provide an easy way off of Litchfield Road into the city center where the construction activity will be taking place. So it's a relatively simple manner for us to require in our contracts that the individuals who are working on the construction in the city center use Litchfield Road to access the site. So we'll do our best to make sure that concern doesn't come to fruition and we don't see an increase in traffic on Old Litchfield Road. Any comments from council? Okay, I don't see any, and that takes care, I think, all of the questions that I had submitted in writing. We have, at this point, it looks like one person whose hand is up, Nancy Schaefer. So we will unmute Nancy Schaefer and let her make her comment or question. Nancy?
We've given her the update.
You have on your computer, you now need to unmute yourself.
There we go.
There you
Okay.
go. So now you should be able to speak. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Schill, for calling on me. I actually wasn't aware I put my hand up, so I apologize. And I'm enjoying the entire presentation, so thank you very much.
Well, you were a good guinea pig, so we know the system was, at least it functions.
That's true.
We're going to go on to the next individual who has their hand up, and that is, looks like Greg Mitchie. If you'll
Hi.
unmute yourself.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There you go, Greg. Yes.
I'm looking at the most current overall plan for downtown that was submitted this past week at the RPG meeting. And what looks like a parking structure behind the church. Is that indeed a parking structure or a parking lot?
At this point, it is not a parking structure. All of the drawings that everyone is looking at are all concepts. And so until we actually start and get some of the roads in and actually constructed, and then see some of the construction activity take place, all of the things that are on these plans should be thought of as placeholders. So they may end up being what we show on the plan, or they may end up being something else, depending upon how the market drives this development. So it's possible that there could be a parking structure in the area that is identified, and it's also possible that there won't be a parking structure there, that there'll be something else there. We know the Church of Litchfield Park has got some interest in constructing a community center type building, something larger, I guess, than what they have in Sowers Hall. So there may be things that are constructed in some of these areas because of plans that the church brings forward, and we'll have to see. But just keep in mind that all the plans are flexible, and before we actually place anything in a particular spot, there will be public meetings with the council in which we will fully discuss what goes into each of the spots so that it fits well within the overall community. Any other comments from council? Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Greg. If you have anything further?
Yes, I do. Because the ingress and egress of that parking lot goes out into Fairway Drive, which is a residential street. And that doesn't seem to be the safest place to have an ingress and egress of a parking lot.
I actually absolutely agree with you on that. It might be that it makes sense to have an ingress off of Fairway so that people who are using Scout Park have another place to park, and maybe would place less reliance on parking on the streets, near the neighborhood. But going out of that parking structure onto Fairway, I think, is a bad idea. So personally, I would not support the idea of seeing both ingress and egress onto Fairway. But it might very well be that I would support the idea of having someone have the ability to go into the garage, but then when you go out of the garage, you will go out into the downtown area so that you don't have those cars being directed into the neighborhood. Any other comments from council? Councilman Brainerd Watson.
I just would like to remind Mr. Mitchie that again, these are all conceptual. And so they would go through all the planning processes and everything before we would even get to the point of identifying where the ingress egress of a parking lot or structure, either one, would really be. So don't worry, we as a council, we're going to be looking at that too, because those are the kinds of questions that we have at the forefront of our mind, because those are the things that affect the lifestyle of the people of Litchfield, and we are the people of Litchfield. We don't want anything coming in there that's going to make our community an unpleasant place to be. We don't want big traffic counts driving through neighborhoods and making it dangerous for your kids to play in the park, or for soccer to be played in the park, or for you to walk your dog at night. And, we want life to continue to be the pleasant kind of lifestyle we have now. So those are the kinds of issues we're going to be looking at with each and every piece of this project as it comes forward to us. And it's going to all go through the planning and zoning process for every single piece of this development. And that's kind of the cool thing about the way this is being developed. It's not being developed all in one fell swoop. It's being developed bit by bit. So we have the right to look at each little aspect of it and ask these questions. And I would highly encourage you, like you are now, to stay engaged in the process and help us ask these questions and help us stay on task and make sure that we're watching for all these things and maintaining a focus of keeping it forefront. How does this affect the lifestyle of the people of Litchfield? Because that is our primary focus. How do we keep things like they are now, but make them better, so that we have sustainable development that will not only leave us with a sustainable tax base, but keep us in a position of the lifestyle that we like right now.
Okay, Mr. Vice Mayor, did I see your hand up?
Yeah, I think you both covered it extremely well. This driveway on Village Parkway and the driveway on Fairway are conceptual only, and we're very, very cognizant of the potential issues here. Nobody wants to see more traffic going to Bird Lane or more traffic going south to the grade school. Those are all things that we're very, very on the forefront of our minds when we're looking at these plans.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, did you have any other questions or comments?
None.
Okay, thank you for participating. Is there anyone else who's attending who has a question? I don't see any other raised hands. If there are no other questions, then we will bring this meeting to a conclusion. All right, so I don't see any other hands. Is there anyone on the council who would like to make any closing remarks? Okay, I don't see any. Then we will end this by simply thanking everyone for participating in this year's State of the City address and presentation. I thank all of the people who attended today in this virtual meeting. We appreciate the fact that you're interested in what's going on, and we hope that we've provided answers to all of your questions. I want to thank the council for putting in their extra time to participate in their individual presentations and also participate in answering your questions today. As always, the council desires to hear from you. So if you have a question that comes up in the future, don't hesitate to contact any of the members of the council and let us know what you're thinking about so that we can take that into account as we try to make good and sound decisions for our city. Thank you. And with that, we'll take a motion for adjournment of the meeting. Motion by Councilman Romack, seconded by Council Faith. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Oh, wait,
Aye.
We have a question? Oh, no. Looks like all ayes. I thought Councilman Rostosi was going to ask a question in the middle of adjourning, but he says no. Okay, good. Anyone opposed to adjournment? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you again for attending.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good job, Mayor.